Those aren't too tight on your anything? Okay, I'm going to double lock them so they don't tighten up on you. Okay, I'll go this door here.
Downstairs first, then upstairs.
We all know that we have to hold our political leaders accountable. Am I right? Yeah! So that's why we're here today. We're coming back again and again because we are holding Governor Shumlin accountable. He has supported the fracked gas pipeline. Somehow that doesn't fit with his rhetoric around climate change. Am I right? Yes. Now, if you choose to participate in this action and enter the building, you may be risking arrest. We'd like to invite you to come in. There will likely be a dispersal order, but we can't guarantee that. Again, hence the accountability. I invite all of you who are going to join me in the sit-in to move toward the band, and they will be starting us off with a march. And remember, folks, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Frederick Douglass.
I'm Stuart Blood. I live in Thetford Center, and I was at the Climate March in New York last month, and now I'm here on the Statehouse lawn in Montpelier, and I'm here with a group of people who, because I support their objectives, two objectives. One, asking the governor and state government to withdraw its support from the fracked gas pipeline to Addison County, and secondly, to impose a moratorium on new fossil fuel infrastructure in the state.
Because we realize that time is running out to address climate change, and we need to get right on it. We've been digging ourselves into a hole with fossil fuels, and it's time to stop digging. We do not want any more infrastructure that is going to create more dependence on fossil fuels.
Thank you. And that means that we may have methane issues, but it's really a time bomb. And the other thing with methane is that the warmer things get, the faster the permafrost will melt, and then we'll have more methane released from underneath.
Yeah.
So we're rapidly, exponentially decreasing the stability of the ecosystem. The reason we're in a sheep head is that I don't want you to act like a sheep and just be part of the flock. I want you to realize that they're going to pull the wool over your eyes, and eventually we're all going to get fleeced. That natural gas, methane may be cheap today, but when they start building liquefied natural gas terminals on the east coast of the United States and selling to the global market, the people in Japan and China and many other countries will be willing to pay a lot more for it. And if it's a for-profit business, the natural gas will flow, the pipeline will take it basically to where the people are willing to pay the most money. To me, the resources that we should be using are the resources in our own backyard. That way we'll see the footprint and not have the footprint land on someone else's backyard that is least able to afford it. So part of it is economic climate justice. And the people that we are trashing are the future. And they're also the people that can least afford to pay for it.
Your hand over your heart.
Yes, I pledge allegiance to a new world of cooperation and love.
Yes.
We don't need no stinking fossil fuels. We can live without them. Much better. Exactly. We demand a better world.
Unfortunately not.
I'm not getting thrown under the bus anymore. I'm going to be the speed bump. I'm going to slow this bus down so that all of us can get together and start.
Everyone give a round of applause for Peter Shumlin! Raise your hands in the air if you can hear me! Okay, sounds good. So, Peter Shumlin, what are your thoughts about the fracked gas pipeline in Addison County? Peter Shumlin says, renewable natural gas is a clean-burning bridge fuel. Governor, wouldn't you like to say something else about the issue? We found this in the Huffington Post. Human beings survive thousands of years without oil or natural gas. We have never known humanity or life on this planet to survive without clean water. So, Governor Shumlin, what do you think about all this stuff going on here this afternoon? Governor Shumlin responds, what you all are doing here today won't make a bit of difference. Never has, never will. Gosh, your nose is disgusting. Put that away. When you make the bold initiative to move from fossil fuels to other ways of powering the future, we have a more livable planet. So we say, it's time to do your business or get off the pot. Governor Shumlin, take your words seriously.
Wow, amazing. I'm so glad he came out today.
The current Secretary of State that we have is the former communications and manager for Vermont Gas and a former lobbyist for Vermont Gas. And I think when we have Vermonters who are losing their property and under the threat of losing their property through eminent domain for this fracking gas pipeline, and in a state where we have very loudly and clearly stated that we don't want a frack gas pipeline, shows that there's something broken in our government, and that these lobbyists and special interests that have come in there and lobbied for this pipeline have drowned out the people's voice. So I'm here in support of putting an end to this pipeline, putting an end to the fossil fuel infrastructure, and raising the people's voice and empowering other people to raise their voice as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will go with whatever the consensus of this group is, but I think we should refuse processing in this building. We demand to be arrested and removed. Right. I am not going to be a little hush-hush backroom frickin' deal in here. The media is still all thick as thieves through here. And I don't care what these guys think is politically expedient. We want to keep living on this planet.
Amen.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what the change is.
I would like to propose that we work with the group upstairs and ask Lindsay to tell them that we are not going to comply and cooperate and walk out willingly unless they're actually going to take us into custody and process us at the station, because this is a politically expedient hush-hush way of doing it.
So Henry, could you clarify how does how does it look different? How is what you're saying different? That they're saying process us here?
Yeah, they're talking about giving us tickets, looking at your ID, giving you a ticket, and a date to appear. In a lot of ways, this is way better for us. It's super convenient. It's going to happen really way faster. And I'm not saying there's some sort of moral or ethical thing that's wrong with it, except that, it's really expedient for Shumlin to not have those pictures. A picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
People being let out the door.
Arrested, no. We're going to be released into the arms of our buddies by the cops, not arrested and put in police cars and carted out of here.
So what does non-compliance look like?
Well, we would just say, we would basically threaten that we are not going to get up and walk with them, that we're going to make them carry us unless they agree to arrest. And then they'll say, I think that they're going to say, okay, we'll take you to the police station. You know, we don't have to, we can begin a negotiation with them and see what we can get out of it. You know, it's not going to actually require any of us to necessarily do anything specific. But I think, or we could just start maybe without the threat and say, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to arrest us and take us to the station. Without
I don't have any power.
I guess what I'm struggling with is the only thing that I think what I'm hearing has changed is that some people anticipated that after there were arrests, we would be escorted out of the building to somewhere else, and that there would be this media event taking place. That's what I'm hearing some people think is the change. And I'm struggling with that because there's been media all over this place all day long. So just speaking for myself, I don't think anything that's me has changed. The act I'm here for is civil disobedience, and that happens when I'm arrested, and then I play the rest of it out with the system going forward.
The only new information is that processing is occurring, and so.
What did you say? That processing is occurring here. I would just like to say that I totally agree with what you just said, and I've calmed down a little bit. Sorry about spiking it with too much emotion or whatever. I think that the inquiry here is like, we said we're not going to leave until Shumlin said he would ban fossil fuel infrastructure in Vermont and the fracked gas pipeline. And now we're being asked to leave with a ticket in our hand, and oh, well, thanks for the fine, and we'll leave, right? Well,
So if we leave, I'm sorry, we'll still be arrested here. The ticket doesn't mean that we're not being arrested. It just means that we're being arrested here and we're not being brought somewhere else. So we're still only leaving because they're forcibly moving us or threatening us with arrest. That hasn't changed the plan because it's processing here.
We'll still be
Yes, they are arresting us.
You're still technically arresting us. We'll still receive the same charges. Right? We're just not going to get, but we're going to be asked to sort of leave. It's just different than being removed, right? You know what I mean? Like being cuffed, put into a car by armed men. So if you really don't like the deal we're being offered of getting processed here, put your hands in the air. If you're kind of okay with it, or you don't care, or you're not sure, put them here. All right? And if you're into it and you want to get processed and get the hell out of here, put your hands down like this.
Well, you can be halfway.
You can be halfway. You're good. All right.
It is time check
6:28.
6:28. So we were informed that we would be escorted out at 6:30.
Great.
Police liaison, do you have any updates for us?
Sure. So the update from State Building is that at 6:30, police are going to arrive at the VT State Police. I'm told a dispersal order will be issued. So at that time, if anybody does not wish to risk arrest, you need to leave the building. At that point, the request from the state is that you walk out on your own accord. And those are the broad strokes of it. I do know that there are some people upstairs who don't have ID. If that's the case for anyone else down here, it would be good to know so I have a count of about how many people don't have ID to let the police know.
Why?
Exactly. I'm wondering the same thing. Okay. This is the story of a very little man
I'm a big CEO with a big corner office in a big corporation making a big fat salary in any town, USA. And as you can see here, oh, the very little man uses his very modest salary to pay for his rent and pay for his health care and make his car payments and buy shoes for the kids and put groceries on the table and a 6-pack of beer every once in a while. And the big CEO uses his big fat salary to buy lots of houses and lots of shoes to put in them and a plane and a boat and a personal trainer and a very nice glass of wine every night with dinner. And as you can see here, the big fat CEO's big fat salary is quite a bit bigger than the little worker's salary. In fact, the average American CEO makes 185 times the salary of the average American worker. Now, how much more is 185 times more? You may be wondering, I'm wondering too. Okay, if you take a look at this abstract pictorial rendering here, this giant green bar is 185 times bigger than this tiny little green dot pictured here. But for those of you who cannot think abstractly, here's another illustration. If you took this tiny little ant, ladies and gentlemen, and magnified him 185 times, he would be large enough to lift this house on his back and strong enough to crush a limousine in his mandibles. Why? Why? Why?
Can we do that while we? Yeah. You don't have to wait till during.
We who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom shall not rest.
Well, if you guys don't mind, they asked me. All right, love you guys. Oh, we're just gonna walk you out? Jeez, I feel weird about it, y'all. I'll see you in a minute. All right.
The seeds that take root as we tear the